Ladies and gentlemen, life often moves fast. Between our routines, responsibilities, and the noise of the world, it's easy to miss the quiet, powerful moments where grace enters. But even in the middle of our ordinary days, unexpected miracles are happening, if only we open our hearts to see them. Let's explore how we can find God's grace in everyday life through 4 key points. Number 1. Recognizing the small wonders in the rush of our daily lives. We often look for the extraordinary to feel inspired. We wait for major breakthroughs, big signs, or dramatic moments to believe that something divine is happening. But in doing so, we risk overlooking the quiet beauty that surrounds us. Recognizing the small wonders is about changing how we see the world, shifting our focus from the loud and obvious to the gentle and constant presence of grace in our ordinary moments. Consider a simple morning, the soft light pouring through the window, the aroma of coffee filling the kitchen, the stillness before the world wakes up. These might seem like routine parts of the day, but within them lies a kind of peace that cannot be bought or manufactured. That peace, that quiet contentment, is a form of grace. It is a small wonder. Most of us pass by these moments without giving them a second thought, but if we pause, just for a second, we'll realize how powerful they are. There's something miraculous in how a child laughs, how a breeze carries the scent of flowers, or how the sky paints itself in colors at dusk. These moments don't demand attention, yet they have the power to center us, to remind us that beauty exists even when life feels heavy. When we begin to notice these things, our entire perspective shifts. We stop asking, "Why isn't something amazing happening to me?" and start seeing that something amazing already is. Sometimes the miracle is just having another day. The fact that you woke up this morning, that your heart is still beating, and that you have another chance to live, love, learn, and grow, that is a wonder in itself. We often take life for granted until something shakes us. But what if we didn't wait for a crisis to appreciate the gift of life? What if we saw every breath, every heartbeat as a silent miracle? And then there are the people, those seemingly random encounters that feel perfectly timed. A stranger holding the door, a kind word when you're feeling low, a text from a friend who just felt like checking in. These are not coincidences. These are small reminders that we are seen, that we are connected, and that grace finds its way to us through others. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, is part of a divine pattern weaving through our lives. Recognizing these wonders doesn't mean we ignore the pain or pretend life is always easy. It means that even in the hard moments, we remain open to glimpses of light. A shared laugh in a hospital room, a moment of peace in the middle of chaos, or the strength to keep going when you feel like giving up. These are subtle miracles that often go unnoticed, but they carry the fingerprints of grace. There's also a powerful transformation that happens inside us when we learn to see the world this way. We become less focused on what we lack and more grateful for what we have. Gratitude is not about ignoring reality, it's about recognizing the goodness that already exists. When we train our minds and hearts to notice these small gifts, we begin to live with more joy, more peace, and more purpose. It's not magic, it's awareness. It's learning to see life as sacred, even when it feels ordinary. Think about the times you felt deeply moved for no reason. Walking under a sky full of stars, hearing a piece of music that touched your soul, or watching someone overcome something difficult. Those moments may not have changed the world, but they changed something in you. They reminded you that life is more than a checklist of achievements. It's a series of moments, and each one has the potential to carry grace. Children are often the best teachers in this. They marvel at ants crawling on a sidewalk, at the sound of rain hitting the window, at the way a balloon floats in the air. They haven't yet been trained to filter out the unimportant things. To them, everything is new, everything is magic. And maybe we lose that wonder not because it disappears, but because we stop looking for it. But we can return to it. We can choose to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to open our eyes again. Recognizing the small wonders is not about waiting for something to happen. It's about realizing that something already is. It's about finding meaning in the moment, purpose in the pause, and hope in the everyday. When we start seeing the world through this lens, everything changes. Life becomes less about chasing something far away and more about embracing what is already here. So today, wherever you are, take a moment to notice what's around you. The laughter of a loved one, the comfort of your home, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. These things may seem small, but they are not insignificant. They are tiny miracles, pieces of grace, and when you learn to see them, you realize that the extraordinary has always been within reach. You just had to open your eyes. Number 2. Trusting in divine timing in life, we often find ourselves waiting for answers, for change, for healing, for dreams to come true. That waiting can feel endless, especially when we are doing everything right. We pray, we work hard, we remain hopeful, but the breakthrough still doesn't come. It's in these moments that the concept of divine timing challenges us the most. Trusting in divine timing means believing that everything happens not just for a reason, but at the right moment, even when we don't understand it. And that kind of trust doesn't come easily. We live in a world that teaches us to expect instant results. Fast food, instant messaging, next-day delivery, it's all designed to fulfill our wants immediately. But the most meaningful parts of life don't work that way. Growth, healing, transformation, and deep purpose unfold over time. They require patience, faith, and above all, trust that the timing of our lives is in hands wiser than our own. It's difficult to see the beauty of divine timing when we're in the middle of delay, when the door doesn't open, when the opportunity slips away, when the relationship falls apart. It can feel like we've been forgotten, like our prayers have been lost in the silence. But time and again, life teaches us that sometimes not getting what we want is actually the blessing. Sometimes the delay is what saves us. Sometimes the detour is what leads us exactly where we need to be. There are moments when we look back on something that once broke our hearts, a lost job, a missed opportunity, a painful ending, and we realize it was a turning point. What seemed like a setback was actually a setup for something better. We couldn't see it then because our vision was limited by the moment. But now, with perspective, we understand that something greater was at work. That is divine timing. It's not always clear in the present, but it reveals itself with time, like a story unfolding one chapter at a time. Trusting in divine timing requires surrender, and surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, I may not understand this now, but I choose to believe that there is purpose even in this waiting. That choice to trust, even in the unknown, opens our hearts to peace. It lifts the pressure of having to control everything. It reminds us that we are not alone in our journey. There's a quiet strength in letting go of timelines. We all have plans for our lives. By a certain age, we want to reach certain milestones, but life rarely follows those scripts. And sometimes, our rigid expectations can rob us of the beauty that's unfolding in the present. When we hold too tightly to how we think things should happen, we miss how things are actually happening. Divine timing often doesn't look like our plans, but it always leads us to our purpose. Even in the waiting, things are happening beneath the surface. Like seeds planted in the ground, there's a season of hidden growth before anything breaks through the soil. Just because we can't see progress doesn't mean it's not there. Just because the answer hasn't arrived doesn't mean it isn't on its way. Every delay can carry unseen development, shaping us, refining us, preparing us for what's coming. When we shift our mindset from why is this taking so long to what is this teaching me, we step into a space of growth. We start to see the waiting as part of the process, not a punishment. We become more resilient, more open, and more connected to ourselves. We learn patience, trust, and humility, lessons that often can't be learned any other way. And then, when the moment finally comes, when the door opens, when the prayer is answered, when the dream becomes real, it makes sense. The timing feels perfect, not because it was fast, but because it was right. It fits into the story of your life with a kind of divine symmetry. You realize that if it had happened earlier, you wouldn't have been ready. If it had come too soon, you may not have appreciated it. The timing wasn't delayed. It was precise. This kind of trust doesn't eliminate pain or impatience, but it gives them a context. It gives you the strength to keep going when the road stretches out longer than expected. It anchors you when everything feels uncertain. Trusting in divine timing is not passive. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means showing up with faith, taking your steps, doing your part, while believing that the rest will unfold exactly when and how it should. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, don't rush through it. Don't curse the silence. Instead, listen for what it might be saying. Look for the growth that is happening within you. Stay open to the idea that what's ahead may be far greater than what you had planned. Because the truth is, grace doesn't always come early, but it always comes on time. Number 3. Strength through struggle. Struggle is something we all face, yet when it comes, it often feels deeply personal. Like we're the only ones carrying such a heavy burden. In those moments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, discouraged, and even abandoned. But hidden within every struggle is a seed of strength. Often, it's through the hardest, darkest seasons of our lives that we discover our deepest reserves of courage, resilience, and faith. Strength doesn't usually appear when everything is going well. It rises when everything feels like it's falling apart. There's something sacred about pain. It strips away what doesn't matter and forces us to confront what does. Struggle brings us face to face with our own limitations, our own fears, and our own doubts. And yet, it also invites us to dig deeper, to find a strength we didn't know we had. It's in these exact moments of brokenness that grace often enters, not to remove the pain, but to carry us through it. It shows up in the form of endurance when we thought we couldn't take another step, peace when the chaos should have broken us, and hope when everything seemed lost. People who appear strong aren't that way because life has been easy. They are strong because life has tested them, and they kept going. Their strength was forged in the fire of experience. Every scar they carry tells a story of survival. Every tear they've shed has watered the roots of growth. It's not that they didn't feel fear or doubt. It's that they walked through it anyway. True strength is quiet. It's the decision to get out of bed when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. It's choosing to believe there's purpose in the pain, even if you can't see it yet. Sometimes, struggle becomes the very thing that opens us to grace. When life is easy, we often rely on our own plans, our own strength, and our own understanding. But when life shatters, we're forced to reach for something beyond ourselves. We pray with more sincerity, we listen more carefully, we open our hearts in a way we never have before, and in that opening, grace slips in. Not always as a solution, but as a presence, a calm in the storm. A whisper that says, "You are not alone." In hindsight, many of us can look back on seasons of pain and see how they changed us. Not always in the way we wanted, but often in the way we needed. Struggles have a way of refining our character, shaping our priorities, and revealing our true values. They teach us empathy, patience, and faith. We become more compassionate toward others because we've walked through the fire ourselves. We understand what it means to be human in a deeper, more meaningful way. There's also beauty in the community that forms through struggle. Sometimes it's in our moments of weakness that we find our greatest connections. A friend who listens without judgment. A family member who holds your hand through the tears. A stranger who offers unexpected kindness. These people become vessels of grace. They remind us that while the struggle may be ours, we don't have to face it alone. And sometimes we become that source of strength for someone else, not because we have all the answers, but because we understand what it means to hurt and still hold on. We often ask why we must go through difficult times. Why can't life be easier? Why must we suffer? These are valid questions. But sometimes we find that the struggle didn't come to destroy us. It came to build us, to prepare us, to lead us somewhere greater. What feels like the end may simply be a turning point. What feels like a breakdown may actually be the beginning of a breakthrough. And what feels like weakness may be the doorway to strength. Faith doesn't always remove the struggle, but it changes how we walk through it. It teaches us to trust in what we cannot see and believe in what we cannot yet feel. It assures us that no season lasts forever, and that even in the hardest moments, we are being shaped by something greater than ourselves. When we hold on through the storm, we come out different, not just scarred, but wiser, braver, and more alive. You may not be able to choose your struggles, but you can choose how you respond to them. You can choose to rise each day with determination. You can choose to keep showing up, even when it hurts. You can choose to believe that strength is being built in you with every step forward. And even if all you can do today is breathe and keep going, that's enough. In the end, struggle is not the opposite of grace. It's the place where grace shows up most powerfully. The strength you're building through your trials will carry you forward. The lessons you're learning in this moment will serve you in the seasons ahead. And the light you find within the darkness will not only guide you, it will help you guide others too. Number 4. Living with grateful awareness. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's a mindset, a way of seeing the world that transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. Living with grateful awareness means choosing to recognize and appreciate the good in our lives, even when it's mixed with challenges. It's about slowing down enough to see the beauty in what we already have instead of constantly chasing what we don't. When we live with grateful awareness, we shift our focus from lack to abundance, from frustration to appreciation, and from worry to peace. In the rush of modern life, it's easy to overlook the gifts right in front of us. We wake up, go through the motions, handle responsibilities, and repeat. Days blur into weeks, and we often move from one task to the next without pausing to notice the blessings tucked into each moment. But when we start to live with intention, with our hearts open to gratitude, everything begins to change. The morning light feels warmer. A shared laugh carries more meaning. A simple meal becomes a celebration. Life becomes richer, not because anything external has changed, but because our perspective has. Grateful awareness invites us to notice the small things, the smile of a loved one, the comfort of home, the sound of birds outside our window. These may seem like minor details, but they're actually the threads that make up the fabric of a meaningful life. When we pay attention, we realize that grace is constantly present. In conversations, in nature, in moments of silence, in acts of kindness. These are the everyday miracles that surround us, waiting to be acknowledged. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is its ability to shift our emotional state. It doesn't eliminate problems, but it helps us face them with greater strength. When we focus on what we're thankful for, even in the middle of difficulty, we create space for hope and resilience. Instead of getting lost in what's wrong, we become anchored in what's still right. That anchor becomes a source of calm when everything else feels uncertain. It reminds us that even on our hardest days, there is still light. Gratitude also teaches us to stop taking things for granted. We begin to see that nothing is promised. Our health, our relationships, even our time. And because we understand the fragility of life, we cherish it more. The people we love aren't just there. They're a gift. The moments we have aren't just routines. They're precious. This awareness deepens our relationships and enriches our experiences. We listen more attentively. We speak more kindly. We show up more fully. Living with grateful awareness doesn't mean pretending life is perfect. It doesn't mean ignoring pain or denying hardships. It means choosing to look for meaning and beauty in the midst of it all. It's about finding something to hold on to, a memory, a lesson, a small joy, even when the world feels heavy. It's understanding that gratitude and struggle can coexist, that even in sorrow, there can be moments of grace, and that these moments, no matter how fleeting, are worth holding on to. There's also a deep spiritual element to grateful living. When we acknowledge our blessings, we are, in a sense, acknowledging the source behind them. Gratitude becomes an act of humility. It reminds us that we are not self-sufficient, that we are connected to something greater. Whether you call it God, the universe, or simply life itself, there is something sacred in giving thanks. It opens our hearts, deepens our faith, and strengthens our connection to the world around us. Another beautiful aspect of grateful awareness is how it impacts others. Gratitude is contagious. When we live with a thankful spirit, we influence those around us. We become more generous, more compassionate, and more joyful. Our presence becomes a gift. People feel uplifted in our company, not because we have everything figured out, but because we've learned to value what truly matters. And in a world that often focuses on what's missing, that kind of presence is powerful. To cultivate grateful awareness, we must practice it intentionally. It can be as simple as keeping a gratitude journal, taking a few minutes each day to reflect on what went well, or expressing appreciation to someone who made a difference. Over time, these small acts shape our mindset. They train us to look for the good and to recognize it when it comes. Gratitude becomes not just a reaction, but a way of being. When we live this way, we begin to see our lives through a different lens. The things we once overlooked now seem significant. The people we once took for granted now feel like blessings. The moments we once rushed through now invite us to slow down and savor. Life doesn't become easier, but it becomes more meaningful. More vibrant, more full. Grateful awareness turns each day into a gift. It reminds us that we are not owed anything, and yet we've been given so much. It teaches us to find joy not just in the big achievements, but in the quiet, uncelebrated moments that make up most of our lives. And when we live this way, we don't just count our blessings, we become one. Miracles are not always about the impossible. They are often about the invisible. They surround us, shape us, and lead us, even when we don't recognize them at first. So today, pause, breathe, look again. You just might find that grace has been walking with you all along. Thank you.